Our vision is safe, secure, and prosperous Canada through trusted intelligence and advice. That's our slogan. That's what is written on the CSIS website. And in the past few weeks, you've most probably heard us talk about CSIS in relation to the Freedom Convoy and more. But what is CSIS?
At the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, we are aware of the special role with which we have been entrusted by Canadians. CSIS is at the forefront of Canada's national security community. We collect intelligence and investigate potential threats to the security of Canada. Our work informs government policy and decision makers, helps police disrupt terrorist plots, reduces the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and counters espionage threats.
CSIS is Canada's anti-terrorism and intelligence agency as it manages Canada's national security system. It collects data and information to better understand the risks of foreign and domestic terrorism. They inform the police and the government to assist them, notably in their counter-terrorism operations. CSIS itself also conducts operations with Canada and abroad as well. CSIS was a major player when it came to gathering intelligence during the Freedom Convoy. It had a large amount of information on the protesters, their behavior, their plans, and a lot more. Ongoing for the past 3 to 4 weeks, I'd say, has been the Emergencies Act inquiry organized by the Public Order Emergency Commission here in Ottawa for the purpose of investigating Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's use of the Emergency Measures Act, a never-seen-before anti-terrorism law on protesters, part of the Freedom Convoy, to euthanize 4 weeks of peaceful protests in Canada's national capital, protesting the remaining COVID-19 mandates. Now, the inquiry has given us the opportunity to hear evidence showing CSIS's analysis of the convoy and of different protests across the country. Indeed, in direct relation to the Emergency Measures Act, CSIS has warned that invoking it might quote-unquote radicalize protesters and push them to violence.
Furthermore, CSIS advised that the invocation of the EA by the federal government would likely lead to the dispersing of the convoy within Ottawa, but would likely increase the number of Canadians who hold extreme anti-government views and push some towards the belief that violence is the only solution to what they perceived as a broken system and government. Following the invocation of the EA, CSIS briefed Cabinet and reiterated the potential for the EA to increase anti-government views and violent ideologies, including in those not yet radicalized.
CSIS warned the Liberal Cabinet of their analysis on February 13, a day prior to Parliament invoking it anyway. They also mentioned that it would quote-unquote likely increase the number of Canadians who hold extreme anti-government views and push some of them towards the belief that violence is the only solution to what they perceive as a broken system and government. Another thing we learned as well during the inquiry is that CSIS Director Diaz-Berthiaume, despite originally being of the view that the convoy was a fully domestic and nothing more as added Genesis movement, he became concerned with foreign interference, mentioning that he thought the convoy had been infiltrated by other elements from causes who would likely use violence. Now, CSIS is set to testify next week between November 14 and November 18. And while this testimony will be important because we will hear high-level and highly relevant CSIS officials testify and give more details as to whether or not this anti-terrorism organization in charge of Canada's national security had concrete evidence that the convoy was a domestic terrorist movement. CSIS will also be granted at least 3 hours of closed testimony where the public will not be allowed to follow the proceedings due to, as they claim, a potential threat to national security. The request for an in-camera ex parte hearing made by the Government of Canada was accepted by Commissioner Rouleau. Apart from this, I suggest that you stay tuned and follow along at truckercommission.com for the latest from CSIS. For Rebel News, this was William Diaz. Alright guys, if you want to stay up to date with everything that is happening here in Ottawa and help us fund our independent journalism from Canada's national capital, head on to truckercommission.com and there you can donate.